Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, Menachos Pei Beis. We are holding 8 lines off the bottom of Pei Aleph Amud Beis. So in the Mishnah we learned that typically when one brings a Karban Toida, he's obligated to use his private funds, chulin, his private money, for purchase of the Toida and the breads, unless he specified otherwise when he committed himself, when he pledged. If he specifies, I'm going to bring it from Ma'aser money, so that's Maser Sheni money, so we have a farmer who set aside, the Maser Sheni portion of his grain, and then living too far from Yerushalayim, he needed to temporarily transfer the Kedusha onto money. You can do that, right? And that money will be eventually taken up to Yerushalayim and be used for foodstuffs, for buying food in the city. So can one use Maser Sheni money towards the purchase of a Karban Toida, towards the purchase of the breads of a Toida? So typically not, unless he specified that he will. If he says, I'm going to bring a Toida for Maser and the bread, then he can do so. If he pledged to bring the actual Toida animal and the bread using Maser money, then he'll do so. Which almost sounds like he has to. He can't use his own money. He must use Maser Sheni money for the purchase of these loisagi. It's not enough. It's an expression meaning you can't get away without that. You have to. You're compelled. Loisagi l'mais. You can't do without it. You can't not use Maser Sheni money. Meaning, why can't he just use private money? I mean, he could use Maser Sheni, but says the Gemara, that's exactly what the Mishnah just means. It just means to say he has the option open. Rav Nachman and Rav Chizda, Amri, they both explained, it's up to him. Ratza, if he chose to do so, maybe they can use the Maser money for this purpose. Otherwise, Lo Ratza, Lo Yavi, he can just as much not. He can use his own money. In fact, Rashi and Ksav Yad adds the words Tava Alav Bracha. If he chooses his own money, funds his Karban, rather than using Maser money, that's even better. Now, when one is allowed to use Maser money, the Mishnah stipulates one more thing. It doesn't mean that he should use actual Maser Sheni grain, the wheat of Maser, for the making of the breads of the Toida. No, you can't do that. You cannot use the original material. Rather, only money which has Kedusha of Maser Sheni. So we have 2 ways to explain this Mishnah. Rav Nachman, Rav Chizda, they both explained, when the Mishnah says you can't use Maser Sheni material for the making of the Toida breads, that is limited to the actual Maser Sheni wheat. That can't be used for breads of Toida. But let's say he had money, which was Maser Sheni money, and he used that to buy wheat. So this wheat is not the original Maser Sheni growth. It's Maser Sheni, but it's purchased Maser Sheni. Can they be used for making of Toida? Yeah, you can use it for the Toida. That's one opinion. In fact, we have another correlating opinion. Yosef Rabbi Yirmiyah Kamei, he was sitting in front of Rabbi Zeir, Rabbi Yosef Amar, and he was saying the same point. Lo yishanu ela mechite Maser Sheni. Right? The problem is only using original Maser Sheni material. Ava mechite al kuchais b'mois Maser Sheni yavi. But if it's second generation Maser Sheni, it's been bought using Maser Sheni money, so even though it's in its grain form, yavi, that can certainly be used to make Toida bread. Amalei, so Rabbi Zera turned to his Rabbi. Rabbi Yirmiyah says, Rabbi Ato Imekain, are you really allowing this? Ani, I might disagree. Afilu mechitan alakuchais b'mois Maser Sheni lo yavi. I hold that even if it's second generation Maser Sheni, even if it's been purchased using Maser Sheni money, but if it's chitin, if it is in its grain form, you cannot use that for toida. So bottom line, all agree that the original Maser Sheni material cannot be used in the making of the breads of the toida. And we'll soon see the reasons for this. The question arises, if it had been transferred to money, and that money was now used, so the money itself can be used to buy toida, but if it was already transferred onto new wheat, that new Maser Sheni wheat, can it be used or not? That's a machlokes. Ve'emu tamaditi. Now, Reb Zera continued his presentation. He says, you say you could, I say you can't. Let me explain to you my position. Ve'emu tamaditi, I'll explain to you your position. And he starts very respectfully with his opponent's position. I will propose your reason. Why are you allowing the second generation Maser Sheni wheat to be used? Look, how do we even know that you can purchase a toida using Maser Sheni money? Mishlamim. It's based on a comparison to shlamim. Rashi brings. It says zevach toidas shlamav. So toida and shlamim go hand in hand. And just like shlamim can be financed with Maser Sheni money, how do we know? Ushlamim sham. It's exer shav. It says shlamim. Sham by the shlamim, v'chalta sham, it says sham mimaiser, or Maser Sheni as well, it says the word sham, we connect. And we learn that you can take Maser Sheni money and use it towards a shlamim and likewise towards a toida. Umina. But if we take this correlation a step further, and we connect it further, we arrive at the following conclusion. Ma shlamim ein gufan maser. Just like the allowance to use Maser Sheni for shlamim is not involving the actual Maser Sheni material, the original material growing off the ground. That's not going to be a shlamim. Shlamim is an animal, Maser Sheni is grain or other organic material. So the shlamim cannot possibly actually be actual Maser Sheni, original Maser Sheni material, Ingefah Maser. After Dinami, likewise. Although we allow Maser to be used towards financing the toida, but the actual toida cannot be actual Maser Sheni material. After Dinami, ein gufa Maser. So you can't use original Maser material in the making of a toida or its breads. Yeah, so that's regarding the original wheat. But second generation wheat, Nami Gufan Maser, likewise. Wheat that had been purchased using Maser Sheni money isn't actual original Maser material. And therefore, it's fine and perfect to use it towards the making of the toida bread. That is your opinion. And that's why you allow it. Now let me explain my position. Why you cannot. Why you cannot use, just like you can't use original Maser Sheni wheat for the making of the bread, you can't use wheat that was purchased via Maser Sheni money. Why? Again, back to the drawing board. How do we know that toida can be sourced in Maser? Shlamim, based on the connection with shlamim. Shlamim has a connection to Maser. Sham, right? Sham Maser. And according to my approach, the formula is a bit different, which would disallow even the use of this material purchased with Maser Sheni money. Why? Ma shlamim ein min Maser. Just like what defines a korban shlamim? It's an animal. It's not comprised of Maser type material. It's not organic, right? Af toida ein min Maser. Likewise, toida and its accessories cannot be made from something which is even min Maser. Which is the type of material that could be Maser Sheni. Lafoki chitin al kuches. B'mois Maser Sheni, and this preempts even wheat purchased with Maser Sheni money. The min Maser. After all, it's the min of Maser, even though it's not the original Maser Sheni growing out of the ground. But since wheat can't theoretically be actual Maser Sheni, so it's close enough to the original and it cannot be used for the making of the Karban Tov. Okay, so bottom line is, typically any Karban, Chayva, an obligatory offering, must be sourced using private money, as we're going to see later in the Mishnah and the Gemara coming up. We have the whole sugi about that, unless he specified. Right, he said, I'm going to bring the Toida from Maser. So to begin with, he's only committing himself to sort of a partial commitment to use Maser Sheni money towards that he can do. But you shouldn't be using actual Maser Sheni material. We have two ways to understand whether we're speaking about the actual original or even something which is reminiscent of the original. Continues the Gemara. Amar Bami, Hamatvis Mois Maser Sheni l'shlamim. Okay, so this fellow took Maser Sheni money, and he now relabeled it, redesignated it as shlamim money. So certainly if he took the Maser Sheni money and used it to buy a karban shlamim, there's no question that it works. As we explained before, you can use Maser Sheni money towards a shlamim. But he hasn't done that yet. He's simply redirecting it in his mind. He's designating it. He's declaring this as shlamim money. What happens to this money? Does it now acquire a new layer of kedusha, which sort of gets added onto the previous kedusha of Maser Sheni? Does it also become shlamim money? Like on shlamim, it doesn't work. Shlamim does not affect this money at this point at all. There's no added kedusha of shlamim. Basically, you can take the money and use it for anything, any food items. My time and why. Although he personally committed it to the shlamim, it doesn't work. The kedusha of shlamim is not strong enough to land, to add itself as an added layer onto the Maser Sheni money. So once it's kaddish, b'kedushas Maser Sheni, it stays as such and does not get enhanced by his added redesignation. But here comes a kasha on Rabbi Ami from a Mishnah Meseches Maser Sheni, where it seems that it does work. Now, before we begin, we meant to know that there's a whole system when a person uses Maser Sheni money for the purchase of an animal, for a behemoth, for a chaya. Now, ideally, you meant to use the Maser Sheni money to purchase a karban shlamim. That's the ideal. In which case, we say that not only the basar is now perfectly edible and fine, but the skin as well loses the kedusha of Maser Sheni, because really it's secondary to the basar, to the flesh, and it leaves the domain, it leaves the Maser Sheni, it loses the Maser Sheni status. You can just take it home and enjoy the skin. So again, although you used Maser Sheni money to buy this animal, but the main objective, the main purchase, the primary element is the basar, which is the edible part, and the rest just sort of loses the kedusha of Maser Sheni, and you could use it for private use. But that's only provided he used it properly. He purchased properly. He used the Maser Sheni to buy a behemoth for a shlamim, or if it's a chaya, like a deer, or something which is not really appropriate for a karban, it was meant for private consumption. So fine, in those cases we say the skin is sort of thrown in for a good measure as a bonus, and you can use it for personal use. But let's say he used the money inappropriately. He bought a chaya for a shlamim, which obviously is not going to work. You can't bring a chaya as a shlamim. So at most, what happened was he now just transferred. He took Maser Sheni money with kedushas Maser Sheni. He now transferred it to a chaya, which is just another item, which is now monetarily committed to Maser Sheni as well. It's just like a transfer, because it's not really a karban. It can't be used for a karban. Another example of inappropriate purchase would be using Maser Sheni money to buy a behemoth, which is really suitable for a karban, which he should have used for a karban. He used it for his own personal desires, his own personal consumption. In both these, we say the skin never leaves, doesn't lose its Maser Sheni status, doesn't lose its kedusha, and you can't use it for chulin, for private use. Okay, that's the halach. What pertains to us is as follows. In the first case, he's using the money for a chaya, for a karban, which obviously doesn't work. So basically, it just becomes kaddish. It retains its kedushas Maser Sheni. right? So what do we see? That the Gemara is assuming that the Kedusha was now enhanced. Because since he attempted to turn into a shlamim, although he wasn't really 100% successful, but at least the monetary aspect of Kedusha shlamim lands on this chaya. Right? To the point that the skin, he can't take it home. He has to treat it like it's belongs to the hektish, because it has a Kedusha shlamim on it. At least monetarily, he has to sell it and use it, buy with it a carbon shlamim, right? So, sum total, we see that if one takes Maaseh Sheni money and redirects it for shlamim use, it does attain that added layer of Kedusha shlamim. Lav l'mem medekani shlamim. So the way we understood the Mishnah, the conclusion is that Kedusha shlamim does get added. It sort of acquires the skin. Right? And that's a kasha on Rabami. Okay, so the Mepharshim explain that the Kedushas Shlamim will only attach itself to the skin, because there's no Shlamim on the Chaya, because it can't be used as a carbon. So, in as much as it's only going to be monetarily Kaddish, that can't push away the Maaseh Sheni Kedusha, that can't interfere with that. But regarding the skin, since the skin itself is not going to be a carbon, so he meant to say that it's going to be Kaddish and committed to be used towards a Shlamim. So bottom line is, however you learn the kasha, the point at the end of the day is, the point is that we see, whatever the rationale, the svaras behind it is, the point is his kavanah was, his intention was, so that at least the skin of this animal that he's purchasing with Maaseh Sheni money should be considered committed to shlamim, to the extent that you have to sell it and buy with the shlamim, and it works. That's a kasha on Rabami, who says you can't redesignate, you can't switch around, turn Maaseh Sheni money into shlamim money. Says the Gemara, Amar Haytmar Allah. No, we already explained this in the Beis HaMedrash, that your understanding is incorrect. Amar Rab explains, Lo yikani shlamim. No, there's no kedusha of shlamim landing on the hide of the animal. Umay lo yotza or lechulin. And when the Mishnah says the skin cannot be used, privately, it can't just be taken home. Hachigam, the Mishnah means like this: Eina b'toras lotzeis ha'er lechulin. It means to say, it's the opposite. If it would be considered a proper shlamim, then the skin is free for use. But since it never got Kedusha shlamim, it's the opposite, it never got Kedusha shlamim. And therefore, everything stays the way it was, status quo. The Kedushas Maaseh Sheni stays the way it was before, and therefore, everything is still Kaddish as before. The flesh and the skin is Kaddish. The Kedushas Maaseh Sheni, which is the original Kedusha, my time of why. Typically we say that when you use Maaseh Sheni money and buy an animal, a behemoth for consumption, you can take the skin home. Why is this different? My time, Amar Rabba, Nasa Kalakiach Shar Lecharisha. Imagine a person takes Maaseh Sheni money and uses it inappropriately. Instead of using it for food items, he uses it to buy a shoyer or an ox for plowing, right, for farming. So in this case, the halacha is that the oyer, the skin, does not turn into chulin. Rather, you have to take the whole entity, the ox with the skin, and resell it and use that money to fund, buying food and eating in Yerushalayim. So bottom line is, again, we're not talking about Kedusha Shlamim landing on Kedusha Maaseh Sheni, just the opposite. Nothing happens. He took Maaseh Sheni money, he bought a chaya, which is inappropriate. Because the right way to do it is either to buy a behemah for a shlamim or a chaya for personal use, but not to buy a chaya for a shlamim. So it's not a proper transaction using Maser Sheni money. So therefore, the system sort of gets stuck in the middle, and we treat it like an inappropriate transaction, and the behemah now has to be, the chaya has to be sort of converted into something appropriate for Maser Sheni. And until that happens, the whole entity, lock, stock, and barrel with the skin, retains its Maser Sheni status. Okay, a little bit complicated back and forth, but the point of the matter is very simple. Rabbi Ami teaches us Maser Sheni money cannot be relabeled as shlamim money. So until you actually use it to buy a shlamim, it's still Maser Sheni money, and you can use it for a pizza pie. We thought we had a kasha, and we answered it. Itzmar. Now comes a machlekes in this regard. Hamatvis mois Maser Sheni l'shlamim. Okay, he did exactly that. He took Maser Sheni money and relabeled it. This is going to be used for a shlamim. Kani. It works. It takes effect. It is not considered kedushas shlamim. It can only be used for that purpose. Rabbi Lazar, it takes no effect. Now, this is an old machlekes in terms of the classification of Maser Sheni money. Is it considered private funds or Hashem's money? Sort of not really privately owned, just temporarily being administered by the farmer until it's used. But it's not technically his money. So how much control, how much ownership do you have over that money? Now, according to Rabbi Shita, who says Maser Sheni is your private money. Everyone agrees the Kani. If you relabel it as shlamim money, it takes effect because it's your money. You can control it, relabel it, redesignate it. Key plea, the machlekes is only a liba de Rabbi Meir. According to Rabbi Meir's opinion, who tells us Maser Mammon Gavoyo. Maser Sheni isn't your private money; it's Hashem's money. Right? Everything is Hashem's money, but here you have to treat it as such. You can't really control it. You can't manipulate it. You were given that money temporarily for a specific, very pinpointed use, i.e., to purchase food items in Yerushalayim. Now, Manda Amar Loikani is an opinion that says you can't redesignate it as shlamim money. Kramer says, look, I'm going like Kramer, plain and simple. It's Mama Gavoya. I can't just relabel and redesignate. Umanda Amar Kani. Rabbi Yechon says it works. We'll explain like this. Given the Maser Kar Shlamim, ultimately all agree. You can take that Maser Sheni money and buy with it a shlamim. It works, right? We had a pasuk for that. So likewise, if it's been designated for that purpose, it also takes effect. The process has begun. Ki mitfasasle, not mitafas, even just latching it on and labeling it as such takes effect. Here comes a kasha on Rabbi Lazar, who says that it doesn't take effect. Hamatfis mois, Maser Sheni l'shlamim, exactly our case. Let's see, he regrets and wants to redeem the money. Now, after he already made it a shlamim, there are 2 layers of kedusha on it, and we know that when you redeem hekdesh money, you have to add a 5th. How many 5ths? 2 5ths in this case. One to accommodate the Maser Sheni element of this money, and one to accommodate the shlamim element. So we see it works. You have to add 2 5ths. Echad 1 lehekdesh to accommodate the hekdesh, vechad 1 to accommodate the maser. Apparently it works. No, the answer is, do you think everyone's in agreement? Hamani Rabbi, there's Rabbi Shita who says it's your personal money, then you're right. I'm not arguing on that. Our discussion was regarding Rabbi Meir, who says Mama Gavoya, does it work or not? That's still going to be a standing machlekes. Okay, now we're going to delve into this, this point that we mentioned yesterday and slightly today, that something which you're obligated to bring, a carbon which is a davar shebachayva, it must be funded using chulin private money. You can't use Maser Sheni money for that. How do we know that? Says the Mishnah, Menayin lo'imer. How do we know that? If a person gets up and says, Harei lo toida, I'm going to bring a toida, so now he's chayiv to do it. Shlo yav yel menachul. It has to be funded with chulin money. How do we know that? Lo'imer. We have a pasuk by Korban Pesach. Interesting pasuk. We know that a Korban Pesach must be a light animal, sheep, a goat, not heavy, oxen or things like that. But take a look at the pasuk, which describes the variations, types of animals for Korban Pesach. Even heavy animals. The question is, we know that Korban Pesach only brought from Kvasim and Izim. Why did the Torah refer to it as bakar? It's meant to teach us, lahakish, to connect all other karbanos, some of which are sourced in bakar, to the Korban Pesach, to give it the same rule. Lahakish, to connect kolaba, all other karbanos, which come min atzoyin u'min bakar, we connect it la Pesach. What's unique about a Korban Pesach? Ma Pesach davar shebachayva. A Pesach is something which you're obligated to bring, and you can only source it from chulin money. How do we know? We'll see in a minute. Just as Pesach must be min chulin, af kol davar shebachayva. Likewise, any Korban chayva, any one chulin, has to be chulin funded. Lefichach. And therefore, the person gets up and commits himself to a toida, or harei leishlamim, since there are chayva karbanis, lo yavilu nachulin, it has to be privately funded. Now, even in the case where he's specified on bringing the toida from maser, in which case he could, but the nesachim, that's an exception. The wine, all that, that's always going to be only chulin, nesachim, b'chal mokim, lo yavilu nachulin. That has to only be from chulin, not from maser. Rashi explains because the shlamim ultimately is going to be eaten, so it's comparable to maser sheni, which is eaten, okay, but not nesach, which is poured on the mizbeach. Okay, so we have part of the one link of the chain we have. We connect other karbanos to Pesach, which we know is only menachulin. But how do we know Korban Pesach itself is menachulin? Well, Pesach Gufay says the Gemara, Minal, how do we know Korban Pesach itself must be from chulin? We're going to have Rabbi Elazar's approach, followed by Rabbi Akiva's approach. Son, Rabbi Elazar, here's the source. We connect the regular Pesach that comes every year to the Pesach that came back in Mitzrayim. Nemar Pesach Mitzrayim. We have the word Pesach regarding the Pesach in Mitzrayim. Right, it's called Pesach. Nemar Pesach L'Ders. We find the word Pesach used later on regarding the Pesach that comes year after year, and we connect it. Ma Pesach. Ha'amr Mitzrayim, just like the Pesach Mitzrayim could not have been funded using Maser Sheni money. You know why? They didn't have Maser Sheni at that time. Maser Sheni only began when they came to Eretz Yisrael. So although it's really an impossibility, but you can still use it as a source. After all, that's what it was. That's all we have. We can't introduce new things, right? Likewise, the generational Pesach can only be financed using chulin money. That's Rabbi Elazar's approach. So that's the source, Pesach Mitzrayim, to which we link the Pesach Torahs, to which we link all other karbanos as per the Hekesh in the Mishnah. Amma later Akiva. So he turns to Rabbi Elazar. How could you compare feasible to unfeasible, possible to impossible? I mean, I understand in Mitzrayim there was no Maser Sheni, but today we have Maser Sheni. How could you equate the two things? How could you compare Efshar, today's Maser, today's situation where we have access to Maser Sheni, Mishi Efshar from Mitzrayim we didn't have access? Amar Lacy says, yeah. Even though it was an impossible proposition of Mitzrayim, it's still going to provide a fair source. Raya Gedoli. It's a big raya, but no matter we can learn from there. So although logically you have a point, but factually, got to look at the facts. Mitzrayim, did they have the Pesach from Maser Sheni? No. That's all we know. You can't introduce new elements and allow Maser Sheni money to be used, something which we didn't have at the source. Okay, Chazer Rakiva v'donei d'nacher. So Rakiva came with another point of distinction to refute this comparison to the Mitzrayim. V'donei d'nacher, Mal Pesach Mitzrayim shkein ein ton matan damim. V'murn gam mizbeach. I'll tell you why Mitzrayim they couldn't use Maser Sheni. Yeah, because I'll tell you why you can't compare to Mitzrayim. There is an element of sort of deficiency. I mean, not deficiency, but there is an element that was lacking. Let's put it this way, Mitzrayim, which we don't have later on. There was no Mizbeach. There was no blood applied to the Mizbeach. There were no imurin fats, as opposed to the later years, time of a Pesach Deiros, which had a Mizbeach. And Shaton Matan Damim, Veimurin Gam Mizbeach, the blood and fats were applied to the Mizbech. And Rashi on top says, well, that makes it more comparable to a Shlomim, which likewise goes through the same process. So perhaps you can use Maser Sheni money to buy a Pesach, just like Shlomim. Amar Loi. So once again, Rabbi Eliezer responds, okay, in response to your new distinction, I'm just going to respond with a pasuk and settle it. Amar Loi Hari Oima, we have a pasuk back in Mitzrayim which says, Avadata, so avoida zois b'chodesh hazeh. You should do this avoida, this carbon, in this month. What the pasuk means to say is, whenever, now, later, 100 years from now, whenever you bring a Karban Pesach in this month, you follow this very formula. You don't deviate. Whatever you do now, you do later. In terms of Maser Sheni, you can't use Maser Sheni now. You don't use it later. Shiyu kol avodas chodesh hazeh kazeh. Okay, so everything in the later years during this month is kazeh, follows this formula. No Maser Sheni. Okay, so let's just sort of organize what happened here. We have two back and forths. So first we were looking, right? We were looking for the source for the halacha in the Mishnah. Davar shebachayva is ba only menachulin, because we compare to Pesach, which was only menachulin. Likewise, other karbanos. How do we know Pesach is only menachulin? So according to Rabbi Eliezer, because compared to Pesach Mitzrayim, comes to Rabbi Akiva and says, well, Pesach Mitzrayim, it was an impossibility. How could you compare? Says Rabbi Eliezer, okay, but says Rabbi Akiva again. Says Rabbi Eliezer says, okay, but still. Says Rabbi Akiva again, but Pesach Mitzrayim is different. It had no dam and imurim. To which Rabbi Eliezer responds, Vavadata, the pasuk. Now the Gemara will analyze their back and forth. Why did each one have to resort to this particular argument as opposed to Rabbi Akiva? Isavala, de'ein danan efsha meshi efsha like milsei. Look, Rabbi Akiva's initial challenge was you can't compare the circumstances. You can't compare it now to then. Then you can't. Now you could. Now, if he was comfortable with that position, why didn't you just stick to it? Like Musa, stay right there. Why do you have to add another point of distinction with the dam and the imurim? If he retracted, if he was convinced otherwise, the reason why he wouldn't now go back and compare to Mitzrayim is because of the fact that there's no dam and the mizbech. Well, you know what? That can be resolved. Pesach midbar yochiach. I can prove to you that the dam and imurim on mizbech element is not really critical to this case. That's not what's going to make or break it. Because look, in the midbar, when they brought the Pesach that first year, right, the second, there was a mizbeach, there was dam and imurim on the mizbeach, but it still was not purchased using Maser Sheni material. Again, they didn't have Maser Sheni in the midbar yet. Evidently, even if there is a mizbeach and there is matan dam and imurim, you still can't use Maser Sheni money. So that sort of undoes his argument, which was that in Mitzrayim, the reason why there was you can't compare because there was no dam and imurim mizbeach. Well, in the midbar there wasn't either, and still in the midbar there was a mizbeach, there was dam and imurim mizbeach. So we can learn from the midbar where no Maser Sheni money was used. So what's going on? Why did Rabbi Akiva follow through with the next argument, and why was it even a sound argument? Says the Dvarav the Rabbi Eliezer Kamar. The truth is, Rabbi Akiva didn't really need that second point. He was just relating to Rabbi Eliezer on his wavelength. He says, look, your initial is to compare Pesach Torah to Pesach Mitzrayim, which is Efshar from Efshar. I don't agree with that formula at all. It's not a fair comparison. L'didi, according to me, ain't done in Efshar. You can't say Efshar from Efshar. So I'm done. That's it. I rest my case. L'didach, the Amr is done in Efshar. Now, even according to your approach, that you could compare today to then, fine, granted, okay. But here comes another point of distinction. You can't compare it to Mitzrayim. Mitzrayim, Shekain Enoton Matan Domim. It's lacking the Mizbeach. as opposed to today where we have the Mizbeach, Torah Pesach Deira, as opposed to the generational Pesach, Sheton Matan Tamim Ve'muran L'gam Mizbeach. That's why he came up with the next argument. If Amr Lezer, to which Lezer responds, of the pasuk. Now, why did Lezer have to resort to a pasuk? He could have just simply responded that take a look at the midbar, which undoes this argument, like we explained before. Lezer Lamel, he could have just said Pesach Midbechech. I can undo your point from looking at the Pesach in the midbar, which had a mizbeach, but still there was no maser. You're right. L'dvar the Rekiva Karmale. So now we'll focus on Rabbi Lezer. He would simply respond to Rabbi Akiva on Rabbi Akiva's wavelength. The truth is, my opinion is, this whole thing is a non-starter, it's not a problem. Done in, we can simply compare Efshar, today's Pesach to the Mitzrayim Pesach, even though they're different circumstances. So I'm done. And regarding the second point of distinction, that in Mitzrayim they had no Mizbeach, Pesach Midbechech, I'll disprove that from looking at the Midbar where they had yes a Mizbeach and still no Maser Sheni was used. So that's pretty simple. The Amris ain't done in Efshar Mashi Efshar. But according to you, that you can't really compare today's Pesach to the one in Mitzrayim because this is Efshar, this is the Efshar. To that I respond with a simple pasuk Vavadata, which is a hekesh comparing all Pesachs to each other. They all run the same track and follow the same rules. What do you mean? But I can still respond to that with a pircha. Just because we have a hekesh, why can't Rabbi Akiva come back with the same argument? You're comparing? You can't compare. Comparing today's Pesach to the Mitzrayim Pesach? We learn from here, you can't refute a hekesh. A hekesh is an absolute, irrefutable system. But here comes another kash. Ubetarbitza. Rashi says this is the Beis HaMedrash, a word used to describe Beis HaMedrash. Some explain it's like Marbitz Torah, Rashi on top. Shemarbitzim Bayit HaTorah, they spread, they increase the Torah. So in the Beis HaMedrash, the following question was asked. Fine, I understand I can't challenge a hekesh, but I can't either make a double hekesh. When it comes to halachas of karbanis, you can't make a chain source. And here, it's exactly what we have. We have two links in the same chain, trying to get us to that conclusion that we're looking for. We're looking for a source to disallow using, anything other than chulin money for a davar shebachayva, an obligatory carbon. And it's learned by way of this double link. Starting point is Pesach Mitzrayim, which links to Pesach Torahs, which links to all other carbonis. Ein v'chidavar alomet be'hekesh. Can information, concepts, halachas that are derived from one hekesh turn around and be transferred further? Chayzim lamed be'hekesh? Right? Says the Gemara, B'chlole itmar. Pesach kuli chad milsahi. When the Mishnah compares today's Pesach to the Mitzrayim Pesach, it's not like a link in a chain. It's not like importing information. B'chlole itmar. It's one and the same. Pesach is one entity. There's one thing called Karban Pesach, which has one system, one halacha, one rule. Okay, so once we establish that Karban Pesach per se has this rule, so now we're just making one connection. Other Karbanos to Karban Pesach. It's true. In terms of the information, we had to sort of investigate how we know that the Karban Pesach is only Menachos, and that took us to Mitzrayim, and we compared theirs to Mitzrayim. But after all, it's one and the same Karban. Once it's established that it can only be brought from Chulin, now we're just linking it over to one, through one link, which is to other Karbanis. Okay, so now we concluded Rabbi Lezer's approach to the Sugya. How do we know that Davar Shebachayva Eino Ba'el Min HaChulin? Starting point is Pesach Mitzrayim, over to Pesach Doros, over to other Karbanis. Rabbi Akiva, Pesach. Rabbi Akiva who challenged this source. He says, you can't compare Efshar today where you have Maser Sheni, comparing it to Mitzrayim where they had a Maser Sheni. So he pretty much refuted this whole system. So how does he know the halacha? Rabbi Akiva, Pesach, this halacha that occurred in Pesach, can only be purchased using chuli money. How do we know this point? How does he know? We have Rabbi Elazar's. First comes Rabbi Elazar, actually, which is not going to be Rabbi Akiva's source, but later on, tomorrow, we're going to have Rabbi Akiva as well. So basically, the starting point is the pasuk. Shmuel brings from Rabbi Elazar an in-depth explanation, analyzing every word in the pasuk of Zois HaTorah la'oila v'la'mincha v'la'chatas v'la'ashim v'luim v'la'chashlamim. The pasuk packaged together sort of reviews all the karbanos in one sitting. What's the point of referring to all karbanos by name again and again? What's the point? In order to teach us things, to compare all karbanos to each other, to share information, to compare notes. So all will be compared to the oila to a certain extent and learn something from there. All will be compared to the mincha and take a halacha that's been established by mincha and apply it everywhere. And likewise by the chatas and the asham, etc. So what do we learn from the oila? Ma oila tuna kli, just as we know that by carbon oila, a kli is required to process it. Af kol ton kli. Likewise, every carbon needs a kli. Now, regarding what? Using a kli for what? Ilema mizrak, we're talking about the mizrak, the container used to collect the blood of the oila, which is referred to in the Torah by the Har Sinai karbanos. It says they use the aganais, these containers, by the oilos. So it's been established that an oila needs a mizrak, and likewise other karbanos. Why do we need to go to oila for that? By Har Sinai they had shlamim as well, public shlamim. So the word aganais relates to them too. So in this pasuk of Zois HaTorah, the word shlamim is also mentioned, so we can learn this halacha of kli from shlamim. We don't have to go to oila. Ela sakin. The answer is we learn that oila needs a sakin for a shchita, a real knife. You can't just use a stone or whatever. If you want to bring a carbon, you got to have a real kli. Kli sharis. How do we know that by oila that was needed? We have in this week's parsha by Akedas Yitzchak by Yishlach Avram es yadai. Avram put out his hand and reached out for the machelas. To do shchita, and ultimately it was an oila, right? Ultimately it was an oila instead of Yitzchak. So we learned that we need a kli. Machelas is a knife. Rashi in Chumash says two reasons why machelas is referred to as a knife is called machelas. He says first of all, chelas is a bas, it consumes, it sort of devours, it cuts through the meat, and also it's machshir basar b'achila, enables the basar for consumption, makes it kosher. So clearly a knife was used, and we compare other karbanos to oila to teach us that a shchita of a carbon needs a knife. So we're sort of in the middle of this brisa. We'll finish tomorrow, B'ez Hashem, and ultimately we'll discover the Rabbi Akiva's source that a carbon chayva needs to be purchased with chulin money. All the best to you and much hatzlacha.